Hey guys, so a lot of people have been asking me about marriage and kind of what to do when your spouse is not interested in the faith and doesn't want to know about the faith, wants nothing to do with God or the faith. And I am here to bring you hope. So as many of you know, my husband is a devout Catholic. So this is a little different, but both my parents and my husband's parents have conversion stories within the marriage. And so I'm just going to talk a little bit about that and kind of maybe give some pointers for what to do. Okay, so my mom married a man when I was about 6 or 7. And when she married him, he was a great guy, wonderful man, but wasn't really into the faith. He grew up Catholic, but his first marriage was kind of not a good marriage, and his wife made fun of the Catholic Church, and so through that, he just kind of stopped going to church. And so then he met my mom, and he started to go back to church, but nothing beyond that. Like, he didn't really want to talk much about God, or, we had an adoration chapel, didn't want to do that, or, do anything besides going to mass on Sunday, which in itself is great that he did that. Like, I'm very thankful that he was there. So my mom prayed and prayed and prayed, and years and years later, he kind of had an awakening, I guess. He now goes to daily mass. With my mom, he now goes to adoration. It's funny, they kind of fight over like who gets to go to adoration, because they have a holy hour at their church. And he loves talking about God. He loves, learning about the faith. He's now in like a men's Bible study and stuff. So, and he's always been a great guy, but, it's one of those things, like, my mom had to kind of silently, like, pray for him and pray for, a deeper conversion and, all these things. And now he is just so in love with God, and it's beautiful. And so my husband, his mom, very similar story, except so he wasn't Catholic, and he was brought up, I think, Christian, but I don't think really practiced anything. And so my mother-in-law has always been a very devout Catholic, and she would go to mass without him. He did not go to mass with them on Sundays. So she, had 5 kids, and she would be bringing the kids to mass by herself. And, I think there's like a loneliness, a sadness there, because her faith to the Catholic faith was so strong, and she just loved God. And that was, something that she couldn't share with her husband. I do know that it was painful for her. I know it was very hard. I know that she prayed and prayed and prayed. She is a prayer warrior, that woman. And God listened to her prayers. And it was years later. In both stories, it was years later that, her husband, converted to Catholicism. And now he is a very devout Catholic, loves the Catholic faith. He absolutely loves Matthew Kelly, like, talks about Matthew Kelly, who is awesome. If you haven't heard of him, he's a great speaker, writer, dynamic Catholic is his thing. So anyway, so he's very into the faith. And so I just want to give you, wives, if your husband is not interested in God, into the faith, that's okay. It's, obviously probably painful and sad and hard, but that could be, you might be their conversion story. Like, you might be that silent witness that they see the beauty of God in and want to grow in their faith because they saw you and the beauty that you had. And, I think it's hard, because I think as women, we probably want to push our husband, like, into wanting Christ, into the faith. But, even when, like, if you read the Bible, God never pushed himself on anybody. Like, that is not how it's going to happen. Like, it's not going to happen by you forcing them to go to mass with you, or forcing them to pray the rosary with you or anything like that. Especially like if there's a conversion, it rarely is that way where it's just in your face, like this is what you have to do, you know. And not only that, is it really their conversion if you're pushing them? So you have to look, you know, at the Bible. Like Jesus did not push himself on people. Like he gave himself freely, and they fell in love with that, you know. And that I think is the same with marriage. Like I think we can be a witness through how we treat our children, how we treat our husband. You know, I know it can probably be hard and we want to be passive aggressive towards them or murmur things under, you know, our voice to them out of frustration. But, you know, and I'm sure a lot of people are like, did I marry the right person? Like, what the heck? Like, why is this so hard? Why is he not interested in God? Like, you know, there's probably a pain in many people's lives, you know, but I tell you, you could be their, you know, you are their path to sanctity, and they are your path to sanctity, you know. And even if you did marry someone that you thought you shouldn't have married, like you married them for the wrong reasons or whatever it is, God can still work in that. And God still wants you to stay united in marriage. And, you know, I think that you can use this opportunity to grow in holiness, to grow closer to God, you know, bring to him. Like you think about St. Monica with her son, St. Augustine, and it was through her prayers, through her witness, through, you know, her love for her child that he eventually converted. Through her prayers, all of her prayers, her whole life seemed like it was devoted to her son's conversion. And God does that sometimes. He used that for the good. And look at, now they're both saints. And who's to say that your spouse isn't the same way? You know, that they might be a saint someday. And that, you know, and that you could be that witness to them. Like God chose you to be with that person, you know, and he's going to use it. And, you know, even if it is painful and hard, offer that up for their conversion. You know, say, thy will be done, God. You know, like my heart is sad because I want my husband or my wife to be there with me, united, to serve and love and honor you. And that's really hard for me, but God, I give it to you, you know, and trust that God's going to move mountains. You know, you might not always see the outcome of, you know, what happens, you know, in the next life and the seeds that you might have planted. And hopefully you'll see, like my mom and my mother-in-law, hopefully you'll see it in this life, you know, the fruits of it. Like they're very blessed that they get to see their spouse like on fire for God, and that they get to go to daily mass together and get to, you know, do different spiritual things together, that they have that in common. And it's so funny. Ironically, my husband and I have that in common, and we have very little other things in common. I mean, obviously we love our children and stuff, but he is such a man's man and I'm such a girl's girl. And so there are times where it's like we are so opposite, you know? So it's not always like so glamorous on the other side, you know, and stuff. I mean, it is beautiful, and if there's, you know, one quality I'd want, it would be that we have the faith, you know. But I'm just saying, like, that it's not, you know, there's always going to be hardships in relationships. I think my advice would be, don't push your faith on the person. Obviously, like, maybe have a conversation, like, I know you're not really interested in the Catholic faith or going to church right now, but if you ever are, please let me know. Like, and just be gentle about it, be humble, be kind, you know, don't be Christ to them and show them, be an example through your joy, you know, be a witness through how you act and who you are. Be that example, be an awesome, amazing wife, an awesome, amazing husband, you know, and be that to the best of your ability. And conversion can come through that, You know, like I said, offer up, we're Catholics, like we offer up sacrifices, and God sees that, and he sees the beauty that we are willing to give up, you know, giving up coffee for our husband's conversion or our wife's conversion or whatever it is. Like, he sees that beauty. Pray rosaries, you know, go to mass, pray to God, talk to him daily, all the time, because he's going to use this. He's going to use this for the glory of God. He always does, you know, and there's always hope. There's always hope for everybody's conversion. And I know it's going to sound weird, but don't talk about Jesus all the time. Like, if your spouse is not open to hearing about God, then don't force it on them. You know, don't pray in the rosary. Don't pray the rosary in the car when you're with them, because more than likely that's going to just annoy them and not want anything to do with God, you know. So like I said, just be that silent witness of, you know, who was it? Saint Francis of Assisi said, you know, proclaim the gospel, but use words if necessary. So just be that gospel to them. Be joyful. You know, let them see that, you know, being a Christian, there's joy there. There's a peace. There's awesomeness. Being a faithful person. Be that example. And just love them. God chose you to be with them. Even if you feel like there's a mistake there, don't give in to that. Like, don't let Satan tell you that. Like, because what has been done has been done. So accept and embrace your spouse where they are. Love them where they are. That's loving unconditionally. Don't give in to the world and say, okay, you know, I need a husband who's faithful or a wife who's faithful, and just let them go, because as we are called to love. Like, we took a vow of loving that person for eternity, forever. And so we need to carry that out and love them. And if they're not loving us, we need to love them even more. And it's kind of a weird thing in today's world, because it's so opposite of what the world teaches. You know, they're like, if you're not happy in your marriage, just get a divorce and you'll find someone better. And that is so not the way that Christ taught us. That is not Catholicism. That is not love. That is not trusting in God, that he has a better plan. And, you know, that conversion hopefully will happen. That's the hope. That's the, you know, that's your path to sanctity. That's your path to being a saint. You know, whether your spouse is faithful or not, like, you need to just give it up to God. Open your hand and say, here it is, God. Be the best mother. If you have children, be the best mother or father to your children. Be that light to them, that spark to them. And yeah, to everyone. Be Christ to everybody. Whether you're feeling it or not, ultimately, this is all for God. And just share your faith through your actions. I hope this helped. You know, I know there's a lot of people who said that this was their struggle, and I can only fathom, I can only imagine. But pray, pray, pray. Be an example, be a witness, love God fully and completely in this hardship, and that is how you will get to heaven as well. So anyway, until next time, I will see you all later. God bless. Bye.